Iran and the United States are locked in a dangerous standoff. At the heart of the matter is Iran's nuclear program. The US fears Iran is developing nuclear weapons. Iran insists its program is peaceful. Tensions have been high for years, but former President Trump's decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018 significantly escalated the situation. To understand the current standoff, it is necessary to look back at the history of the US-Iran nuclear deal, a complex and multifaceted agreement that has shaped international relations for years. The deal, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, was signed in 2015, marking a significant milestone in diplomatic efforts. It was the culmination of years of negotiations between Iran and the P5+1, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, and Germany. These talks were often tense and fraught with challenges, but ultimately led to a historic agreement. Under the terms of the JCPOA, Iran agreed to significantly limit its nuclear program, including reducing its stockpile of enriched uranium and allowing comprehensive inspections by the International Atomic Energy Agency. In exchange, the international community lifted sanctions on Iran, providing much-needed economic relief and opening the door for increased trade and investment. The deal was widely seen as a major diplomatic achievement, a testament to the power of negotiation and compromise in resolving international disputes. It was hailed as a victory for diplomacy over war, a rare instance where dialogue triumphed over conflict. However, the Trump administration was deeply critical of the JCPOA, arguing that it was fundamentally flawed. Trump argued that the deal was too weak and that it did not do enough to address Iran's other malign activities, such as its support for terrorism and its ballistic missile program. He believed that a tougher stance was necessary. In May 2018, Trump announced that the United States was withdrawing from the JCPOA, a decision that would have far-reaching consequences. He also announced that the US would be reimposing sanctions on Iran, aiming to exert maximum pressure on the Iranian government. The Trump administration's decision to withdraw from the JCPOA was met with widespread condemnation from the international community. US allies, such as the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, all argued that the deal was working and that it was in the best interest of international security to preserve it. They believed that maintaining the agreement was crucial for global stability. Iran has repeatedly rejected direct negotiations with the US over its nuclear program, citing a deep mistrust that has only grown over the years. Tehran argues that it cannot trust Washington after the US withdrawal from the JCPOA, which was a landmark agreement aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear capabilities in exchange for lifting economic sanctions. Iranian officials have said that the US must first lift all sanctions and return to compliance with the nuclear deal before any talks can take place. Iran's position is understandable given the economic hardships they have faced. The US withdrawal from the JCPOA was a major breach of trust, leading to widespread protests and a sense of betrayal among the Iranian populace. The Trump administration's decision to reimpose sanctions on Iran has also had a devastating impact on the Iranian economy, causing empty shops and widespread economic hardship. Furthermore, the US has continued to pressure Iran even after withdrawing from the JCPOA, maintaining a stance that has only fueled tensions. The Trump administration launched a maximum pressure campaign against Iran, which included a series of aggressive measures. This campaign has included sanctions, military threats, and diplomatic isolation, all aimed at crippling Iran's economy and forcing it to negotiate on US terms. Given this context, it is not surprising that Iran is reluctant to engage in direct talks with the US, as they see little benefit in negotiating under such pressure. Iran sees the US as an unreliable negotiating partner, one that has repeatedly broken promises and agreements. Tehran believes that Washington is not serious about reaching a new agreement, and that any negotiations would be futile without a significant change in US policy. The US response pressure and threats. The US has responded to Iran's rejection of direct talks with a combination of pressure and threats. This multifaceted approach aims to bring Iran back to the negotiating table. The Biden administration has said that it is willing to return to compliance with the JCPOA if Iran does the same. This offer is seen as a significant step towards de-escalation. However, the US has also continued to impose sanctions on Iran. These sanctions target key sectors of the Iranian economy, aiming to cripple its financial capabilities. In addition, the US has not ruled out the use of military force against Iran. Military exercises and preparations are ongoing to ensure readiness. The Biden administration has said that it will take all necessary measures to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. This includes diplomatic, economic, and military options. The US's approach to Iran is based on the belief that pressure will eventually force Tehran to make concessions. Diplomatic channels remain open, but the tone is firm. However, this approach is risky. Experts warn that excessive pressure could lead to unintended consequences. It could backfire and lead to further escalation. The region is already volatile, and any misstep could ignite a larger conflict. Iran has shown no indication that it is willing to bow to US pressure. Iranian leaders remain defiant, insisting on their right to develop nuclear technology. On the contrary, Iran has continued to expand its nuclear program in defiance of US sanctions. This expansion includes advancements in uranium enrichment. The risk of military conflict between the US and Iran remains real. Both nations are on high alert, and the international community watches with bated breath. The importance of trust and diplomacy. The standoff between the US and Iran is a reminder of the importance of trust and diplomacy in international relations. The JCPOA was the result of years of painstaking diplomacy. It was a testament to the power of dialogue and compromise. However, the Trump administration's decision to withdraw from the JCPOA undermined trust between the US and Iran. It also damaged the credibility of the US as a negotiating partner. The Biden administration has said that it wants to revive diplomacy with Iran. However, this will be a difficult task. The US will need to rebuild trust with Iran. This will require the US to make concessions. The US should start by lifting some sanctions on Iran. This would show Iran that the US is serious about diplomacy. It would also provide Iran with an incentive to return to compliance with the JCPOA. The risks of escalation. The standoff between the US and Iran is a dangerous game of chicken. Both sides are engaged in risky behavior that could easily lead to conflict. Iran is continuing to expand its nuclear program. The US is threatening military action. The risks of escalation are high. A miscalculation or misunderstanding could have catastrophic consequences. A war between the US and Iran would be devastating for both countries. It would also destabilize the entire Middle East. It is essential that both sides find a way to de-escalate the situation. The US should refrain from making threats. Iran should halt its nuclear activities. Both sides should return to the negotiating table. The world cannot afford another war in the Middle East. The stakes are too high. Conclusion: a path forward. The standoff between the US and Iran is a complex and challenging issue. There are no easy solutions. However, diplomacy remains the only viable option. The Biden administration has said that it is committed to diplomacy. This is a welcome development. However, diplomacy will require patience, flexibility, and a willingness to compromise. The US must be prepared to make concessions. Iran must be prepared to address US concerns about its nuclear program. Both sides must be willing to put aside their differences and work together for a common goal. The future of the Middle East hangs in the balance. The US and Iran must choose diplomacy over war. The world is watching.